Hello everyone, and welcome to the series premiere of Star Trek Osiris, a Starbase-centric game of Star Trek Adventure 2nd Edition using the rules by Modiphius Entertainment. My name is ELH the Game Master, and joining me are a few lovely individuals who'll meet right away and get into play. Starting with Profess Hex. Hex, anything you want to shout out and who are you playing?
Hello, everyone. I have returned, much to your intense chagrin, but here I am again. I'll be playing Commander Vakobe Ka, a Vinchari leader, essentially, of Starbase 675, otherwise known as Osiris Station. And I just want to shout out all of my Latin scholars who, in one way or another, have paved the way to me understanding what's on the patch for Osiris Station.
By the way, Chad, if you can guess what Memento Vere actually stands for, you get a cookie. I don't know how I'm going to get you the cookie, but we'll figure something else. I'm sure UPS can figure it out.
Don't worry, it'll be a digital cookie. It'll just nestle firmly in your browser, and you can just look at it whenever you wish.
Yeah. Oh, yep. Arwen got it immediately. Good job. Remember to live. Yep. Good job, Arwen. All right. Up next, MGX. Anything you want to shout out, and who are you playing?
Hey everyone, excited to be joining the channel for the first time. I'll be playing Lieutenant Junior Grade Talix, a Denobulan science officer. And just want to shout out any of my friends who are going to be watching today. Thank you for joining us and excited to be a participant.
Very nice. And we do have a third player. They are going through a bit of a rough patch, so they're not able to join us today. But hopefully they will be someone you can meet in the future sessions. But for now, let's run that lovely intro that Techno made for us. And welcome back. So normally I would have the players do an opening narration, but since this is the series premiere and I wanted to give our players a good introduction, I wanted to do the opening narration myself today. So we open up with a shot of Osiris Station. It is an old Starbase 1 type starbase, back from the days of early TOS, those old scientists, etc., etc. It is on the very edge of Federation space. It is so far out in the boonies that there is nothing beyond this station. This is quite literally the last stop before you are in the true wilds of space. And what we see is the runabout in which the players are coming to the station in. We see the runabout enter into one of the shuttle bays of Osiris Station. And as you see the runabout lower and begin to actually, dock with the support gantry and everything, we hear the narration of a Bajoran male. And he simply says, Commander Ukara's personal log supplemental. I understand that Commander Vakobe Khan and Lieutenant Junior Grade Talix are finally here at the station. We have a meeting scheduled in approximately 15 minutes in which I will be handing over the keys to the station to them, though I do wish that their Ensign Evans feels better. I understand that apparently they had a little bit of an upset stomach of some kind. Why someone who would have an upset stomach and come to a starbase? Well, perhaps it's left unsaid. And personal log. And we, of course, do the Star Trek scene wipe, where we now go to the main office of the CO of Osiris Station. It's a little bit similar to DS9, except it's not Cardassian design, where the office is above everybody else. It's on almost like a ready room level, where the bridge, quote unquote, is still designed in a circle so that you can come and go and get to any station you need pretty easily. But instead of it going, off to the side and then having a ready room, there's just a door that leads to the actual ready room. And the ready room doors are somewhat transparent, so you can look out into the bridge. But you two, Vakobe Ka and Talix, you are both there ready to enter into Commander Ukara's office. And just so the people at home get a good view of your characters, what do they see as the camera sort of pans over? And we'll start with Vakobe Ka. What do we see about him?
Commander Vakobe Ka, as I mentioned before, is a Vinchari, right? So he has the sort of dark red skin, black sort of eye matter and the golden sort of irises that is traditional of his species. He is an older gentleman, probably resembles, if we were to compare it to humans, someone in their 50s or 60s, let's say. Somewhat thin, but with probably what you'd describe as like maybe a swimmer's build. He is wearing something akin to like a Nehru suit, right? Like you might find on. I think most people will be familiar with that kind of clothing from, like, I guess, Doctor No from the James Bond universe. It's that kind of black, straight buttoned high collar kind of garb. Um, he's got the sort of, as you can see in the avatar there, the kind of Van Dyke style thick mustache and plume of beard, all kind of like grayish white. Um, and you can see probably poking out from underneath the Nehru collar the traditional kind of bone protrusion that is common to Vinchari. Unlike the female Venturi that have the sort of vertically protruding kind of bone section. The male version, if I'm remembering correctly, is more sort of horizontal, kind of lapping around the neck. And Vokobe Ka bothers to kind of cover it with that high collar, just to make sure that anybody witnessing it is not made possibly uncomfortable by something so, I guess, visceral, kind of poking out at them.
Okay, cool. And what do we see about Lieutenant Junior Grade Talix?
Yeah, so as mentioned before, Talix is a Denobulan. He is wearing the standard science officer uniform, so he is in blue. He is in his mid 30s and has recently joined Starfleet. So he's been, he's, about midway through his career, hence the lieutenant ranking. He is, I want to say, about 5'8", 5'9", not super tall, a little bit plump, as he does enjoy some. He's enjoyed cuisines from across the various worlds that he's visited. He's a very gregarious individual, so all throughout the shuttle flight over, he has been chatting with the commander, who hopefully hasn't grown too tired of him given the amount of time he'll be spending with him moving forward. But he has a glint in his eye because he's very excited to be off of his homeworld of Denobula, is excited to be out on the fringes of Federation space and ready for a new adventure.
Cool. All right, well, the one thing I'll say is that before you tap the button and try to get into Akar's office, soon to be Vokobe Ka's office, is the amount of different species that are currently present on the bridge. You are seeing, of course, the standard Starfleet smattering of Vulcan, Tellarite, Trill, Andorian, that sort of thing. But there's also a good number of a different species. Now, previous watchers of my channel will recognize the gremlin species immediately. But to sort of set the scene for Hex and NGX, I'd like you all to imagine basically a goblin or a halfling, but instead of the pointed, elongated ears, they kind of have more like, almost like dog girl ears or cat girl ears, but all of them are moving about with almost a zeal for their job, where they are all very much hardworking. They're all very much like shouting at each other to get stuff done more efficiently. It's almost a welcome din, a welcome bit of activity on the bridge. But as you push the button and Ukar lets you into his office, what you see is a older Bajoran, probably in his 60s to 70s, so he's getting on in age. But he, of course, has on the traditional Bajoran earring. He is actually not in uniform. He's actually already gotten into his civilian clothes. He is still wearing his rank insignia and his badge, but he's definitely not in uniform. And as you come in, Ukar says, "Oh, yes, Commander Vokobe Khan, Lieutenant Junior Grade Talix, thank you for coming. I will apologize for not greeting you in uniform, but Well, I kind of retired about 2 hours ago, and I'm ready to get into my retirement, as it were. But please, please, have a seat. Have a seat.
Yeah, Vakope will kind of, nod and smile warmly and take a seat and say something to the effect of, well, Sora, it's absolutely your discretion to spend the rest of your cushy life the way you see it.
Something like that, anyway. And Talix, I understand, if I remember correctly, looking at your file, that your third wife is expecting. Is that correct?
Yes, thank you so much for asking. Yes, not only is my third wife expecting, but my fourth also just found out that she's pregnant as well. So, quite a great time for this family, and it sounds like quite a great time for you too.
Indeed, indeed. But on that note, I actually would like to go over a few things with you both before I turn over the keys. The first is, well, you've probably already figured this out, but this is Osiris Station. This is the last stop on the frontier before you're out in the wilds. And what that means is there are no wormholes, there are no transwarp conduits, there's no random subspace anomalies, at least except for that one we had 3 weeks ago. What I'm getting at is that this isn't going to be a DS9 like assignment. You are quite literally just the last gas station that ships have before they enter into deep space, but you're also the very first welcome port that they get to when they're returning. And sometimes those ships that are returning come back with some very interesting both data but people as well. Now, I know you are probably already know this, but you will be expecting the Vulcan science vessel to show later after I turn over the keys. But let me get more to the point. If you think this is going to be a command in which you'll be earning accolades or you'll be doing anything spectacular, I'll dissuade that notion now. In my tenure of 10 years on the station, the most exciting thing that has ever happened is when the gremlins ran out of coffee. And Ukar, smiles like he's told the best joke ever. But when he realizes that you're missing context, he says, oh, right, let me explain. The gremlin, if you're not aware, are a very interesting species. They are from a ring world approximately half a light year that direction, and they are the best engineers that I have ever seen in my entire time at Starfleet, as long as they have caffeine. If you ever run out of caffeine for your gremlins, you're going to get a bunch of sleepy little ones everywhere in the station. But as long as they get their caffeine, they are the hardest working, the most adept engineers I have ever met in my entire life. So make sure that you have caffeine on hand. And I will tell you now, there is an emergency store of caffeine pills in Cargo Bay 2.
Now, sir, if I may permit me a question. These gremlins, is there a particular upper bound to the amount of caffeine that they're allowed to consume whilst on the station? Or is there a particular time period in which they're meant to consume caffeine? Mornings, nights, after midnight?
It varies from gremlin to gremlin. They usually just do the standard what we do and have a Ractogeno in the morning, a Ractogeno at lunch, Ractogeno in the evening. There are some gremlins, though, that are on the black label diet, as I like to call it, where they consume such a high degree and such high intensity amount of caffeine that it'd probably give you or I a heart attack. And then, when he sees that neither of you get his joke, he moves on. In any case, you will be shortly meeting the Gremlin liaison, Zenlith. I've asked her to show up a little bit after I've handed over the keys, so you have a little bit of time to settle in. But more to the point, if you do wish to bring your family here and you don't mind them, or they don't mind, I should say, you being in one of the most remote places in the Federation, I recommend it. As I said, there's not a whole lot that goes on this station. So if you need creature comforts or you just want the warm embrace of a family, Definitely would recommend it. In fact, that's actually where I'm heading after I hand over the keys. I'm headed back to Bajor to be with my family. So, unless there's any other further questions, let's handle the whole changing of guard.
Lieutenant Daleks, do you have anything to add?
I think Talix takes the outgoing commander's comments and sort of considers, he's very excited to be on the fringes of Federation space, but is also a little anxious about the fact that the commander is indicating that, the posting is not as exciting as perhaps he originally thought it might be. But he's not going to bother the commander right now with anything else. And so says back to Vakobe Ka, no, sir, I'm ready to get this underway.
Very good. In that case, computer, please recognize changing of CO, authorization Ukar Delta 131 Delta, and Commander Vakobe Ka, do you accept the responsibility of being CO of Osiris Station?
I do, sir, and promise to execute my duties to their utmost in accordance with expectations and qualities instilled in Starfleet officers.
Very good. Computer, please recognize change of command to Commander Vakobe Ka. Vakobe Ka, if you could give your access code.
Yes, 5 Epsilon Gamma Delta Delta 7.
And the computer chirps and says, Command recognized. Command of station has been transferred to Commander Vakobe Ka. And, Ukar at this point, offers out a very gregarious handshake and say, well, sir, I stand relieved.
It's been a pleasure to meet you, sir. I hope the remainder of your retirement is absolutely pleasant. And let's give you a little bit of a signing off present. Computer, play Kokomo by the Beach Boys.
The computer thinks for a moment and says, which version? There are approximately 13 different variants of the Beach Boys song you have requested.
Oh, God, I didn't anticipate that. Select a recording that does not involve John Stamos.
Working.
Terrible drama.
And, of course, I'm not going to play it because I don't want to get DMCA'd, but Kokomo begins playing, and it's very nice. And I think Ukar just sort of looks at you, raises an eyebrow, but then laughs and says, you know what? I think I started to understand the vibe you bring to the table, Vakobe Ka. But yes, good luck, Godspeed, and enjoy yourselves. This is a slow posting, but it's still worthwhile. And then, of course, after he's shaken both of your hands, he grabs the pack by the door, looks one last time around what was his office, and then he departs off to the turbolift, leaving Vakobe Ka and Talix in Vakobe Ka's new office.
Well, Commander.
He'll take a seat behind his desk and try to make some adjustments to the desk itself. Get things in its proper place.
And Talix will turn to the commander. Well, Commander, congratulations. I know it's been a bit of a long journey out here, but I'm glad that we can finally get things started.
Yes, started. That's a curious bit of wording. It seems to me, based on the commander's previous comments, that nothing seems to actually start here. It's more of a stasis point. But I take your meaning.
Yes, sir. Well, my hope is that we'll be able to find a little bit of excitement along the way. I heard the commander loud and clear on his way out, but I think there may be some things we might be able to find out here. Who knows?
Well, that's the spirit, Lieutenant. Now then, first things first, I would expect a scientist of your caliber to be eager to make sure that the sensor arrays and the various scientific laboratories and machines and so on. All of the lab tech is functioning at its highest capacity. So if you could organize a inventory of these things, make sure that they're all functioning properly, and get that report on a surprisingly dusty desk soon, that would be much appreciated.
Yes, sir. I will make sure that I get right on that. And if I might also ask, do you mind if I begin learning a little bit more about some of our colleagues? Would you find it helpful if I started to get a few notes together on the type of work they do, their interests, the places they come from? You know that it's a little bit of a hobby of mine to get to know our new cultures, our new individuals around us.
I would indeed, Lieutenant, especially those gremlin that the previous commander mentioned. I suspect they may be. What's the phrase? It's a human phrase. Firebrands, they might be. I want to make sure that I'm prepared to deal with them.
Yes, sir. I have not come across these folk myself, but I am quite excited to learn a little bit more about their caffeination, did the commander say?
Yes, judging from the commander's comments there, caffeination borders on suicidal, but, well, who am I to judge an entirely different species?
Indeed. Yes, sir. Well, I'll begin and go ahead and get my duty started.
All right, as you were.
All right. So, Talix, you depart to begin inventorying and socializing, as we'll call it. But before we move and deal with that, Vokobe Ka, what is one thing that you would be adding to the office as part of a personal affectation? Now, of course, you're going to dust the desk first, but what is it you're adding? Is it a Cisco baseball? Is it a piece of music like a vinyl? What is the one affectation you're adding to your office?
Vokobe Ka would try to see if there's any kind of like display case or sort of wall mounting kind of system, like pegs or hooks of any kind, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he would hang there horizontally an old fencing saber that he acquired from a antiques dealer. It's a fencing saber from sort of the Napoleonic kind of era of Earth history. Um, it's something like, somewhere between sort of an infantry saber, a cavalry saber, right? And yeah, he would hang that, give that pride of place in his new office.
Cool. I love it. And don't worry, Talix, we're going to see what you add to your science labs in a moment. But Vokobe Ka, as you hang up your saber, maybe you adjust it just a little bit so it's nice and level, you get another chime at your door. And what you can see via the transparent panels is that there is a gremlin waiting on the other side. Now, this particular gremlin is a little bit different than the others. She is a little bit taller. She has stark white hair that's kind of in a bob at the moment. And she also has what appears to be on her head a pair of goggles that is sitting on her forehead. And then there's these what appear to be red horn like metallic features that she's wearing as like a headband. But she chimes the door and waits for you to buzz her in.
Kobe Ka takes a moment to sort of, smooth out, the fabric of his kind of Nehru garb, right? Kind of make himself, just so presentable, right? Before he sees some of Osiris Station's staff for the first time. And he says, enter.
And she steps in, and immediately she goes over to the replicator without asking, replicates herself a Ractigino, takes a sip, kind of sighs contentedly and says, sorry about that, I was a little bit behind on my caffeine intake. Liaison Zenlith, reporting to make myself introduced. I believe you are Commander Kobe Ka, is that correct?
That's correct. Please do make yourself at home. You seem to have already gotten started.
Well, Me and the old commander had an understanding, and you'll come to the similar understanding, is that when a gremlin needs their caffeine, you either let them at it or you accept the fact they're going to be sleeping on the floor right in front of you.
I see. I'll try to square that with my understanding of protocol.
Oh, I've never met a Vinchari before. Tell me, what is it that makes you unique? I mean, obviously you've got that whole red skin and you've got that whole neck thing going on, but I'm just fascinated. Like I said, I've never met a Vinchari, and I'm eager to learn more.
The vast majority of my people believe that everything must be done from a position of strength. There is a burning vein in all Vinchari that asks them to dominate. It calls to them from within to acquire power by any means necessary. Now, I don't subscribe to that philosophy. My family and those like us are part of the Order of Midajakar. We believe in power through information and knowledge rather than brute force. We're not as violent, visceral, or aggressive as the rest of my people. But nonetheless, I do feel a certain competitiveness that if you ever meet more of my kind, you'll see is in abundance.
Fascinating. And she actually, using one hand, she still holds her drink, but she pulls out a little data pad with another and just starts tapping with her thumb on it. Very interesting. Cool. And that sword of sorts on the wall, is that a traditional Vinchari weapon?
No, this is an old Earth relic. It's a Napoleonic era fencing saber. I'm quite a dab hand when it comes to sword fighting. It's a bit of a hobby of mine.
Oh, well, I hope I'm not imposing by asking this, but, well, the old commander used to have a bunch of Parisi Squares tournaments on station. Perhaps you might consider looking into a fencing competition, if I understand correctly.
That's certainly an option. We could arrange something like that to improve morale on the station. In fact, I may decide to assign positions in the competition to various staff on board the station, such as yourself, perhaps. And maybe when you face off in the first round against a practiced fencing artist like myself, you'll perhaps remember to exercise caution when you come into my office and make use of my replicator.
She smiles and laughs a bit. I do apologize for that. Like I said, I was getting dangerously low, but heard and loud and clear, sir. I am here simply to facilitate whatever you need from the Gremlin people and to make sure that overall your experience on the station is as smooth as it was for Commander Ukar.
That's good to hear. I look forward to working with you and the rest of your people.
Very good. Unless you need me for anything else, sir, I'll get back to it.
I don't believe so, Zenlith. Dismissed.
And she nods, and she does the polite thing where now that she's finished with her Actigeno, she puts it back in the replicator, has it de-replicate so it gets disassembled, nods, and then steps out of your office. So she's not like certain people on DS9 who may or may not just leave their mugs everywhere. And I may or may not know that because I've been watching DS9 and it annoys me. Stop leaving your mugs everywhere.
I can feel the sparks from you grinding that axe.
Yeah. Anyway, let's cut over to Mr. Talix at this point. So Talix, which of your science labs in particular would you like to visit first, assuming you want to visit a science lab first?
So I think that Talix would want to go to the astrobiology lab, given he's had quite a bit of research experience in that space and just wants to see exactly what facilities are available for him to further his studies.
Okay. So, much like many of the labs here on Osiris Station, you actually have a view. So you, of course, have the standard Starfleet amenities of various beakers, lab equipment, isolation fields, containment units, the whole nine yards. But unlike most labs, at least the ones we see in the show, you have a full wall that is open to the elements. Not like open, but you can see what's going on outside. And inside the lab itself is a number of workers, all of them gremlin at the moment. But one of the gremlin kind of notices you've come in and go, "Oh, Lieutenant, welcome. Are you lost? Can I help you with anything?"
No, I'm not lost at all. I'm just so excited to be entering this particular lab and seeing you as well as all of your colleagues. We just arrived on the station a little while ago and would love to make your acquaintance. I am Talix of the homeworld of Denobula, and how about yourself? Where are you from? And what is your name?
Oh, so you're Talix then? Well, and she kind of looks around and starts waving at the others to clean up. Sorry, we weren't expecting you for another 30 minutes. My apologies for the state of things.
Oh, not a problem. If things weren't in the shape that I currently see, I'd imagine that nothing was going on here at all. I'd rather see that there's a bit of action taking place in this particular lab.
Oh. So she kind of smiles and then kind of does a cancel motion with her hand and says, "Well, to answer your questions, Lieutenant, my name is Chief Yin. I am, of course, from the Gremlin Ring World, about zero point 0.5 light years that way. And I am, or was, depending on how you'd like to task me, since you're now head of science, I am the head astrobiologist and archaeologist, which, by the way, maybe this is impertinent of me to ask, but how do you feel about astroarchaeology? Are you a fan of such?"
I feel that anything that can tell us a little bit more about another's culture or another planet's history is absolutely critical to the natural science that we study. Without the social science that underpins it, there's really not much for us to know outside of a few rocks here and there. So I'm very interested in, merging all of this together as a part of the work.
Ah, well, I don't know what Commander Ukar told you before he left, but these labs and labs like it, and she kind of motions around at the laboratory, this is where the magic happens, where the ships coming back from the frontier, coming back from those deep recesses of dark space, they usually bring back a lot of interesting phenomenon with them. In fact, and she kind of turns and says something in her native language to another one. She gets a response and says, "Right. There was a Nausicaan vessel that came through about 2 weeks ago that had the strangest anomaly that you have ever seen in your entire life. Are you familiar at all with the concept of a slime cube?"
A slime cube. I don't know that that's made its way into my particular line of study. Can you tell me more?
Well, this gelatinous creature, about the size of an entire engine room, basically took over the Nausicaa's entire engineering entire engineering room itself. So we're talking a cube roughly 10 meters by 10 meters by 15 meters, so very, very large gelatinous substance. But the most interesting part was that it was sentient, it was alive, it was feeding off of the thermal energy coming off of the core. And let me tell you what we had to do to figure out how to get that thing off and off to siphon heat from something else. Now that was a journey you're not going to find anywhere else in the Federation.
Alex thinks to himself, doesn't want to voice this so as not to show any disrespect to the previous commander, but he goes, "Man, I don't quite know what that commander was thinking, because this sounds like this posting is going to be quite a bit of fun." But what he ends up voicing to his counterpart, "Well, that sounds like quite an exciting adventure. I would love if you could regale me with stories of some of the other experiments and some of the other items that you all have come across. I imagine that we have quite a bit that we can dive into out here."
Of course, of course. Would you like to have that discussion here, or shall I give you a tour of the station?
I would absolutely love a tour of the station, and I just want to make sure, culturally, is it all right if I inquire a little bit more about your homeworld as well, as I am not familiar with your background at all?
Oh, I don't mind. What would you like to know? It's just a standard Class M ring world. Nothing really too fancy. It's in the orbit of one of our gas giants, and It houses over 2.3 billion gremlin. So, yeah, I mean, it's standard to me, but what would you like to know about it?
Well, what I would like to know, have the gremlin species expanded far beyond that original homeworld? It's interesting to see you all here at the station. How have you all developed? And Talix just sort of throws a bunch of questions at the gremlin. A little bit unable to control himself from the excitement, but he just fires a million questions away.
Okay. We'll cut away back to Vokobe Ka for a moment then. Commander, would you be staying in your office or would you be doing the rounds? You know, what's Vokobe's sort of style when it comes to commanding? Is he one of those officers that likes to be seen? Is he one of those officers that likes to be heard? You know, what does that look like exactly?
I think Vakobe Khan would probably spend about an hour in his office making sure that that he has access to his command terminal, that everything's sort of working properly, that he's adjusted his office to, his specifications, his style, and he has gone out of his way to sort of remind himself. He was reading this on sort of the runabout on the way over, but he does another once over of the general kind of staff complement on Osiris Station to try to like start or rather continue committing all of his staff names to memory, right? He sort of runs through the list, and rattles them off under his breath to try to, get them lodged in there. And then he would exit his office and do a sort of a kind of an observation run. He won't necessarily announce himself. He won't necessarily even speak to the staff right away. He'll just sort of kind of walk through the station and sort of lurk in the background, kind of trying to observe how every sort of piece and department functions without his like influence.
Okay. So in that case, you all, both of you, will end up on what features as the promenade on the station at about the same time. So while one of you is doing one thing, you'll maybe like catch eye of the other kind of a thing as you're passing by. But focusing on Vakobe Ka for a little bit, the promenade is very different from the promenade on DS9, where it's right below the command level. The promenade on the Osiris Station is actually the inner ring of the docking ring. If you were to look at the model of a Starbase 1 or at a model of a logistical outpost, depending on what era of play you're in, there's the main circle that is where ships dock. And then in the interior of that circle, there's another circle that's somewhat separated, so there's a gap in between them. But the promenade is in this second inner circle, and it is easily triple, if not quadruple, the size of what DS9's promenade was. So it's big. You have all manners of storefronts. You have various Joomja stick sellers. There are tailors that may or may not be Cardassian. You have various clubs. You have various amenities such as holosuites and the things of that nature. But what's probably going to be the most interesting for you, Vokobe Ka, and feel free to tell me otherwise, is that one of the station's bars is open to the public. And how do I want to say this? It is perhaps the most soothing, but also energetic sort of feel you're getting from this bar that is better than any other club that you're seeing. And maybe I'm not explaining it well, but to me, it's one of those situations where, at least on DS9, if you were to walk past Quarks, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's Quarks. I understand that. That's the place to be. This club or this bar is very similar, where you're walking past it and you just get the vibe that it's the place to be. And of course, Talix, you'll note this on your own when you're passing through. But the music that's playing is somewhere between Terran ambience to Terran sort of low ska. So it's kind of a little bit of an upbeat thing, some ska ambience, if you will. But what catches your attention probably the most, at least to me, is the barkeep herself. And you would know, Vokobe Ka, since you took the time to look it up, this is Astrape, and she is a 10 key. Now, a 10 key is basically a energetic humanoid, and I don't mean like energetic as in energy levels. I mean quite literally, she is made of energy, and she has 2 arms, 2 legs, humanoid head. There are 4 sort of protrusions coming from her forehead that are very tall, maybe about 1 or 2 feet in length, so very large horns. She has on a bartender's outfit, so kind of a furred collar, a little bit of a strappy dress, and is always wearing a smile. And when she catches sight of you, she kind of waves you over and goes, "Oh yes, Commander Vokobeka, please, please, let me introduce myself."
The commander will nod warmly and take a seat at the bar.
And without even asking or without even inquiring what it is, she goes to the replicator, gets a glass, and then pours your favorite drink, whatever that favorite drink might be. And just for the folks at home, and maybe to add a little bit of flavor, what would that drink be?
That would be a single malt scotch.
How many years?
I mean, preferably north of 1,000.
Don't they stop aging at like 50 or something?
You have reached the limit of my knowledge about whiskey. Please subscribe to the Professor Hex Plus plan to access additional information about whiskey.
Okay. No, I only know a little bit about it myself because I used to be a little bit of a Scotch snob. So she pours you a single malt. It's a good 23 year. It's like a Glenfiddich, kind of a whiskey or a Scotch. But she pours you it, and would you take it neat or with a rock in it?
I think I'd take a rock. Yeah.
Okay. So she puts the rock in, slides it over, and says, "Well, you probably already know this, Commander, but my name is Starbase, and I am the proprietress of this establishment." And you, of course, see that much like Quark, he names the bar after himself. Starbase has done similar. But you will find, Commander, that my bar is always open. Does not matter what time of day it is. Does not matter what's going on. I am of the mind that relaxation and resting is something very important on an assignment like this. That you can't always be a gremlin on high caffeine running about the place like chickens with their heads cut off. You need time to sit back, relax, enjoy life, enjoy the time that you have.
Well, Astrape, I tend to agree with your assessment, especially as the gremlin are concerned. But I do have, well, I'm sure you anticipate this question. How did you guess? After all, I could have taken a screwdriver or even a Shirley Temple, but you gave me precisely what I wanted.
Well, let's just say that as one of the very few Tenki that is serving on a Starfleet station, I make it a point to know about the people who might come through my bar.
Does that stop at preferred drink orders or extend into more personal matters?
And her purple skin sort of crackles with electricity, not in like a dangerous way, just sort of as a bit of flavor. She says, "Well, I understand that you have a very interesting sword in your office. I also understand that you came here after a mission at, what was it, Xerxes 4, I believe is what the mission logs contained."
That's correct. Do you remember, or do you sense, rather, what happened at Xerxes 4?
I was unable to get into the harder details. Those were, of course, locked behind security protocols I don't have access to. But I did understand that you saved some Federation scientists.
That we did. It was a trying operation. One that exposed us to the ways in which science and perhaps even nature can go awry.
Please tell me more. And she actually takes a seat opposite the bar and just sort of leans in and tries to be a good listener.
I don't think I will, Astrape, chiefly because, frankly, I'm concerned about the level of your knowledge of my own doings, as well as those of these people on the station. Are you breaking security or privacy protocols to do this?
Oh, not at all, sir. I make sure I don't access any information I don't have the right to know.
I see. Then how did you guess about the single malt scotch?
Well, when you have a facial expression like that and you walk into my bar, it's either a scotch or it's something that knocks you on your ass in 2 seconds. And you didn't look like you wanted to be knocked on your ass, so I guess the whiskey.
Yes, not yet, it's only Monday.
Well, there's an old Tenki saying that says, well, it's always Wednesday somewhere.
Very well, Astrape, as long as we have an understanding that I expect everyone on board Osiris Station to follow protocol, to respect each other's privacy and emotional health, we won't have a problem, and I'll be one of your most persistent customers, let's say.
I look forward to it. And she, of course, smiles, nods, and does not even mention paying for the drink as she goes to help other customers.
Does Vukobeka get a sense of like how they pay for drinks here at the bar? Like, or did they use latinum or any kind
Yeah,
of
it's
like?
latinum. It's all latinum.
Okay, he'll retrieve from one of his pockets like a strip of latinum and set it down at the bar anyway, as kind of like a tip, if you will.
Okay. The GM has made a note. Meanwhile, Talix, as you're walking by the bar, and you of course see Vakobe Ka in discussion with the Strape before she walks off, your host, Chief Yin, sort of points out the bar and says, that's one of the more frequented bars, but between you and me, Lieutenant, there's actually a much better bar that you could go to.
Oh, well, I would absolutely love to learn about that. I'm certain that I have plenty of time to go to the bar that everyone likes to go to, but how often do you get a chance to be surprised?
Well, and she kind of looks you up and down. Fair warning, it is very gremlin coded. You might find yourself a little bit claustrophobic.
I have found myself in a variety of claustrophobic situations with my various wives and other family members back home on Denobula. We are a rather plentiful species with not a lot of room, so I should actually fit right in.
Well, just this way, I'll show you to Povs. And she kind of leads you off a little bit of the beaten path of the promenade, maybe down a quote unquote alleyway, such as there are alleyways in a station like this. But she leads you to basically a dive bar. It is, of course, designed for the smaller in stature, so you're having to, duck under the threshold to slip inside. And even when you're inside, you're kind of having to stoop your head to not hit it against the ceiling. But most of the people in here, they are gremlin, various different colors and designs. And there is a gremlin band that is playing, and they are playing legally distinct cantina music.
And Talix looks around and takes in the sights. Does Talix notice if there is anyone else that is non-gremlin, or is it strictly gremlin space?
Oh, it's all gremlins in here.
So Talix is actually quite excited by the opportunity to be around so many others, who he's just learning about, and asks Commander Yen, well, why don't we go ahead and find ourselves a drink? What is the drink of choice amongst your species?
Well, I mean, it varies from gremlin to gremlin, but myself, I'm a fan of the black label stuff. The highest caffeine content drink that I've found from Terran history.
Well, that sounds quite exciting. I'm not much of a caffeine fiend myself. I generally tend to lean a little bit more towards the tea, but it's been a long journey and we had quite an adventure on our way over here, so why don't we go ahead and give that a try?
Are you sure, Lieutenant? I mean, it is a very powerful drink if you're not ready for it.
I suppose you would be in a good place to let me know. Do you know much about denobulan physiology, and do you have any concerns about it affecting me? And if not, perhaps we should run a scan to see.
You know what? I like that scan idea. And she kind of gets the attention of the bartender. Doesn't say anything, just holds up like two fingers. Bartender nods. Moments later, bartender comes over, puts down two mugs that are appropriately warmed and sculpted. But as you run the tricorder over the drink, let's do our first roll of the game. Well, the stream game anywhere. Go ahead and give me a reason and science at a difficulty of 1. Also could be reason medicine, I suppose.
I think both would be the same for me.
And chat just also gave you momentum if you care to use it.
I think I'll hold on momentum for right now. And do I have a focus in this?
Let me take a look. Yeah, you've got several focuses that would apply here.
Okay, perfect.
All right, 3 successes, meaning you get 3 momentum total. Well done. So yeah, Talix, I don't know how much you know about caffeine in real life, but to sort of break it down, the average soda has anywhere between 50 to 75 milligrams of caffeine, depending on if it's like a Pepsi or a Coke or a Mountain Dew. The amount of caffeine that is in this drink that the chief is drinking is 1,500. So if you want to be up for the next 5 days and potentially bouncing off the wall with energy, yeah, you could drink it. Would I advise it for a first timer? No.
Alex thinks to himself because he wants to fit in with the surroundings that he's in, but also knows from a science and medicine perspective that this probably would not be the best for him. That he is going to take a respectful sip and then see if they have anything else with just a, shall we say, a lot less caffeine in it available so he can socially fit in.
Okay. Well, I figure we might as well do a funny moment. If you could give me a fitness and medicine at a difficulty of 2 to resist the effects of the Uber drink.
Okay.
Also, Hex, I'm now just seeing your Cheers reference in chat. Well done there.
You're welcome.
Okay, so Talix, I can offer you a success with a complication.
Let's do the success with a complication. That feels about right.
All right. So you do get a less caffeinated drink, and you're feeling okay. It tastes fine. But even that tiny little sip that you had of that 1,500 milligrams of caffeine, it hits you. And all of a sudden, and you can flavor this however you want in Denobian physiology, but you are seeing sound, you are tasting color, you are tripping balls.
Talix starts to get up and he almost feels like dancing, but then feels a bit red in the face. What seems to have happened is it activated the denobulan defense mechanism where he starts to puff out uncontrollably like a blowfish. And it happens at random intervals. And while some might be a little bit concerned, the folks around him don't seem too affected by that. So he smiles through it and then turns to Yin and says, "Wow, these drinks certainly pack a punch. I don't quite know how you gremlins do it."
I mean, for some of us, the only reason we're even awake is because of drinks that strong.
I would love, and he starts to dive into even more and more questions. I would just love to spend a lot of time learning more about your physiology, and perhaps sometime we can conduct some experiments. You can share the best literature and all of the questions that he would normally be asking at an already heightened speed or coming out at rapid pace.
Love it. Well, about 5 minutes into that, Vokobe Khan and Talix, you both get a chirp from the bridge and says, Commanders and Lieutenant, please report to Ops. We have the Vulcan science vessel to show coming in, and they're hailing requesting you.
Acknowledged.
Acknowledged as well.
All right. We do another Star Trek wipe. We see you both emerging onto the bridge or into ops, whichever you prefer to call it. At this point, Talix, you're still kind of puffing out at random, and you do get a few odd looks at people as you puff out every once in a while. But on screen, and the screen is, since it's a circular ops, it's very much like DS9 where the screen is just kind of in a concentric circle that's above everything else. So you kind of just look up to see the screen. But on the screen is a Vulcan. He looks very serious, or I guess he just looks Vulcan. But he says, "Oh yes, Commander, my name is Captain Veluk, captain of the Vulcan science vessel Tesho, returning from our 5-year journey, requesting docking procedures."
Greetings, Captain. You are welcome here at Osiris Station. Permission to dock granted.
Very good. I understand that you are new to the station. Congratulations on your new posting.
That's very kind of you, Captain. It is a quiet honor to take hold of this old but reliable piece of Starfleet history.
Well, to risk making a pun, I believe there is another old and distinct interesting phenomenon which you and your crew may be primed to better understand. I am transmitting schematics now for a standard Vulcan shuttle. Nothing too out there. It is a very contemporary design. However, in our journey of deep space exploration, we have come to understand that one of our shuttles, we do not know why or how this has happened, one of our shuttles is, shall we say, larger on the inside.
Come again, Captain?
I will repeat myself. One of our shuttles is larger on the inside.
Vukobika will turn to Lieutenant Talix and do a quick double take when he realizes that he's like slightly inflated. Lieutenant, are there records in our database referencing, let's say, dimensionally transcendental spaces?
And as the commander turns and says that, Talix's face puffs out a couple more times as if taking in the question and trying to react to it. But he then says, "Well, Commander, I could do a search. I'd say that, most of my research has been in more of the biological space, but I'd be happy to take a look."
Please do so at your earliest convenience, Lieutenant, and coordinate with the scientific staff on board the station whose expertise expands into, let's say, physical dimensions.
Yes, sir.
He'll also, Vukobika will lean forward towards Lieutenant Talix and under his breath so that the Vulcan captain doesn't necessarily hear. He'll say, "And please do something about your rapid onset inflation."
And Talix has a wry smile. "Yes, sir. Just following up with both of your orders to determine our natural science and social science capabilities."
Well, Captain, I would be happy to investigate this issue for you. Do you wish to make this a joint venture? Are there any of your staff or any other members of your Vulcan party that would like to participate? Or is this purely an Osiris operation?
You may consider it how the humans say a housewarming gift.
Ah, very kind of you.
Yes. We have done our best to study it over the 3 years since the phenomenon first took place. We have not found anything new. So the only thing we would ask is that if you do figure out how it became larger on the inside, please do forward the relevant data to us.
I presume you've transmitted coordinates for this shuttle as well, alongside the schematics?
Indeed, we will transmit the schematics as well as the location where this phenomenon first took place, As for the transferring for it to Osiris Station, we will beam it to one of your cargo bays at your convenience.
Ah, excellent. And Vakobekab will turn to sort of like liaison with somebody in ops to kind of like, establish which, which bay, right, and, get the necessary kind of security clearances and so on.
Okay. Just to throw in a little bit of flavor and introduce another NPC, you end up chatting with Lieutenant Obitus. Now, Obitus is a Sreen, if I remember correctly, and a Sreen is basically this not quite anthropod, but also not quite reptile, where he has a very almost like a Halo Elite or a Sengeli, where the head is kind of stooped forward and there's bits of armor that kind of look like plating and scaling. And then they have a mouth that is split into 4 jaws, kind of a thing. Same kind of thing here. It's just legally distinct and looks different just a little bit in that the jawline is a little bit more angular. The jaw itself is still split into 4, but it's not in the Sengeli upper and lower. It's more left and right, if you get my meaning, where instead of splitting vertically, it splits horizontally. Did I do that right? Yes, it splits horizontally. But Lieutenant Obitus kind of takes your instructions, Vokobe Khan, goes, very well, I will put them into Duck 5 and transport the interesting shuttle to, looks like Cargo Bay 2 is open at the moment, sir.
Very well, Lieutenant. Please proceed.
And then we do a small jump cut as the Vulcan science vessel docks. The shuttle is transferred over. And if I read the room correctly, I know at least Talix is going to be there, but Vokobe Ka, would you also be heading to Cargo Bay 2?
Well, I mean, it would be rude not to, receive the housewarming gift, so to speak, with open arms. So yes, he would be there.
Okay. So the two of you arrive in Shuttle Bay or Cargo Bay 2, and the Vulcan science vessel shuttle looks to be a standard Vulcan design where it is kind of a trapezoid with a ring drive on the back of it. There are landing gear keeping it off the decking, but waiting for you is Chief Yin that Talix met earlier. And Chief Yin just says, Commander, Lieutenant, good to see you. I was just about to pop the hatch and see what the fuss is all about. I mean, it looks like, my tricorder and everything, it looks normal to me.
Your scans, Chief, have confirmed that there is not a possible security issue or a radiation issue or danger inside before we, as you say, pop this open?
Well, and she kind of taps at the tricorder. No odd radiation, no subspace anomalies, no verteron fractures, and she goes through a whole list of things that would be dangerous if encountered. But she goes through a whole list and says, and as far as I can tell, their replicators are working, so we can at least have a drink when we go inside.
Bakobe Ka will, smirk ever so lightly and say, well, that's a shame. Right. Please, open this thing up.
All right. So, she sends a command through her tricorder. The back hatch slides up and a ramp slides down at a 45-degree angle. And when you peer through the hatch, what you see is very alien. And I don't just mean that because it's Vulcan. What I mean by it is you look inside and you see almost the interior of the promenade of Osiris Station, where you just see this immense expanse of just various little buildings and various stations where people can do work. But this is like a scale 1 vessel, and you're looking at something that's like a scale 3 or 4, if that makes any sense. So somehow, to put it in even finer terms, someone has taken the entire Nova class and stuffed it into a little science vessel.
the commander will kind of like very briefly sort of like lean forward to get a sense of like to get kind of like a full sweep of the space, like craning his neck, looking up, looking into and around, just to kind of confirm that what he's seeing is not like an optical illusion.
Mm-hmm.
And then he'll turn and say, Lieutenant Talix, if you would please, for the record, note that we have confirmed the captain's suspicion that this vessel is indeed bigger on the inside.
And Talix, with a bit of wonder and awe at the current situation, turns to the commander and says, Indeed, Commander, I'll be sure to note this in my log. This is a rather unusual phenomenon that I don't think I've ever come across.
Now, are there any? Do we get any indication that there are any there are no life signs on board, right? It's simply sort of this expanded space.
Yeah, it is just this expanded space. You step inside, run your tricorder. No life forms aside from yourself aboard.
Well, that's certainly handy. We don't want exiles or refugees aboard this transcendental space. Right. Lieutenant Alex, did you coordinate with our best physicist aboard the station? Are they present?
Well, sir, I tried to stop by the physics lab, and it appears that we have a team of gremlins. Last I saw them, they were getting their round of coffee, or I suppose that's what I'm calling it. I don't quite know that we would call it that given the amount of caffeine content, but here nor there. They're getting that right now, so I believe they should be on their way.
Well, I certainly hope when they arrive that they are not all vibrating at a speed and frequency that would cause phase disruption.
Yin, just in the corner sipping her coffee, smiles but doesn't say anything.
Commander, while they're on their way, I just want to make sure this doesn't quite feel grounded in the reality that we know. Have we checked to see if there are any hollow emitters or any type of known phenomenon that could be causing a visual disruption for us?
That sounds like an excellent question, Lieutenant, and I appreciate your initiative. You'll get started on your suggestion immediately, I take it.
Yes, sir. I want to confirm that this just isn't a trick of the eye, as some may say.
All right. So, for you, Talix, this is going to be a reason and engineering. I don't know that you have a focus here. The difficulty
I don't think I do.
Difficulty on this will be a 3.
Talix doesn't have a focus in physical impossibilities. It's so common.
Yeah, why would you not have that?
I was about to say the closest we get is research, but most of the Talix's background is in the natural science, is more in the sort of the biology space.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay.
If only this was a whale that was bigger than on the inside.
Yeah, that would be different. But as a reminder, since it is a difficulty of 3, you can spend momentum or give me threat to buy additional dice. I would definitely at least recommend buying 1, but you probably want to go up to 4 dice total.
So in that case, that would be all 3 of the momentum that we currently have?
Yes, unless you wish to, kind of divvy it up with threat as well, because you can use momentum and threat interchangeably, for the most part.
So why don't we go ahead and use 1 momentum and add a threat?
It would be 2 threat.
2 threat. Does that work for the team?
Well, my position on giving ELH threat is well known and well documented at this point. I'm generally anti enabling ELH to ruin our lives, but I'll allow it in this instance.
Sounds good.
All right. Go ahead and
Alex
roll.
likes a little spice in life, so.
Yeah. Okay. So I can offer you a success with a complication. Actually, 2 complications because chat just redeemed an evil complication.
Oh, this is how it's going to be, huh?
Apparently.
You made an enemy, chat.
But you don't have to take italics. You can simply choose to fail this roll. You don't have to take the 2 successes with 2 complications.
I think 2 complications feels hefty.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we will go ahead and fail the roll.
Okay. So the chat, I'll take the 2 threat for chat rather than using the complication immediately. But yeah, Talix, you run your tricorder. No holographic emitters. No strange space warping that you can really tell other than what your eyes and other senses are telling you. Whatever's causing this is beyond your knowledge at the moment.
Well, Commander, it appears that my initial hypotheses are not correct. I can't find anything on the scans that I'm running.
So no hollow emitters, no optical trickery. Does it appear legitimate?
Based on the scans, and so long as my equipment is working at optimal capacity, which I have no reason to believe it's not, we I don't think that any of those are in place. I think that this might just be some strange new reality.
Well, there's only one thing for it. And the commander will just stride into the vessel and cross over into the dimensional space.
Okay. So you cross through, and nothing happens at the threshold. Nothing happens 5 feet past the threshold. You can walk as far as you want, but people can still see you. You can still see them. You can still talk, but nothing changes in the air except it's a little bit musty. But it's breathable. You're not detecting any danger. Again, with your tricorder, you're not detecting any life signs. You are just in a Nova class size space.
Lieutenant, please do note for your log that I have not been disintegrated or shunted into an alternate dimension.
Yes, sir. That has indeed noted.
I guess Vukobeka at that point would sort of like try to examine the space and to try to get a better understanding of like what is it? You know, like does it really resemble like a Nova class thing? Is it meant to sort of like mimic that space, but is really something else? Is like what seems to be the function of this space primarily?
Okay, why don't you give me an insight and command? I'll give you a focus and cold reading here.
Mm-hmm.
I
Okay.
am going to make the difficulty a 4, though.
Of course you would.
Now, to be fair, I do have to spend some threat to do it, but it is a difficulty of 4.
Well, good. I'm glad you have to pay. I would like to use 1 momentum to add an additional die.
Okay.
Okay. Let's hope for a critical success, shall we?
And you get critical success. Very nice.
That's how the secret works. You have to speak it into being.
Unless you're Peter, in which case you just exist and Peter when the dice fell.
That is true.
So, Vakobe Ka, you are, to put it one way, you took Temporal 101 in Starfleet Academy. You maybe passed Temporal 101, that sort of thing. So this isn't like a massively temporal prime directive breaking sort of thing, but you're looking around and you're recognizing some things you would have seen in Temporal 101, where you're seeing, oh yeah, that console over there looks like it tracks time. And oh, that console over there is maybe controlling some kind of a special transporter. And oh, that one over there, handles another function. So to put it in an even finer point, you're not looking at a 24th century starship. You're looking at something more like a 25th or a 26th century.
I think Vukobika's brow would be furrowed slightly, and he would probably walk back out to the Osiris Station bay, if he can.
You can, yeah. Nothing stops you.
And he would say, Lieutenant, the situation has become, if you can believe it, even more complicated than before. I believe we might be dealing with temporal transcendence as well.
Alex sort of pauses for a second to consider the ramifications of, that particular line of thought, if that were to be true, and says back to the commander, well, Commander, that is a bit concerning, I would think. I don't know that I've had much experience with that particular type of issue. How about yourself?
Have I gotten involved in time travel shenanigans? Is that what you're asking?
I suppose so, sir.
Well, Lieutenant, if I told you, it could damage the very fabric of the space-time continuum, so you'll understand if I stay mum.
I most certainly do, and I will not ask again.
Good lad. Right, it looks like inside we're dealing with technology of the 25th, perhaps 26th century even, so I have some theories. Chief, any observations?
And the chief has been there the entire time just sipping at her Ractogino and goes, what bothers me is the fact that the Vulcans should have been able to clue in that this is a future design, but they made no mention of it. In fact, the captain of the vessel made it sound like it was just an idle curiosity, not a potentially groundbreaking discovery. I'd like to try something, sir, with your permission.
Well, Chief, that depends on what it is.
I would like to close the hatch and reopen it, but only with me being able to see inside.
With you being on board the vessel or using some kind of sensor?
I mean, step about 5 feet that way so you can't see past the threshold.
I see. Very well. And Vukobika will make kind of a gesture so that everybody, moves to their appropriate places.
Okay. So the chief taps on her tricorder. The Vulcan science vessel seals up. She confirms that she's the only one that can really see past the threshold. She opens the door again. And this time, when the door opens, her eyes widen and go, "Yep, that's about what I expected. You can come look now, sir."
The commander will come over.
When you come over, both of you come over and look. What you're seeing is a drastically different interior. It's still larger on the inside, but this time the architecture and design is more gremlin in design, where the ceilings are much lower, the consoles are spaced the way gremlins like it. There's various caffeination stations situated throughout the space, and the chief just sort of points and goes, "So I think it's not just temporal, if it is temporal at all. I think it's quite literally it's whoever observes it gets to set the specifications of what's inside."
Alex turns towards Yen and asks, well, how did you come to that particular conclusion? You said that's what you thought. Have you seen this before? Is this a technology of your species' homeworld?
It was actually just a random guess. I mean, at the time, I was thinking of a Nova class vessel when the door opened, and since it was such like a Nova class when we looked inside, and then the commander here, couldn't say what the commander himself was thinking at the time, but the fact that he was able to identify it as a 25th or 26th century vessel led me to believe that it was our collective thoughts that manifested the space, not an actual design, if that makes any sense.
Very impressive, Chief.
Well, I do what I can between drinks. She sips again.
If you seem to be suggesting that the interior of the space is actively shifting or modifying itself based on our thoughts, wishes, intentions, idle curiosities?
All of those, yes.
Schrodinger's interior. Lovely.
That is a good name for that phenomenon. She writes it down in her pad. We're going to call it Schrodinger's phenomenon. I love it. I love it.
You can have that one for free.
Well, I'll credit it to you, sir. That way, when the Daystrom Institute hears about this, they come to you.
Please don't. I don't require any more communications from them. They're very persistent.
She just very slyly taps a button, and oh look, the Daystrom Institute doesn't need to know about this anymore.
Well, the interior doesn't seem to be of any present danger to us, barring any possible psychic meddling going on. Can we confirm, Lieutenant Talix, that our minds are not being altered or perhaps harmed in any way by this phenomenon?
Alex considers the best way of going about that and suggest, well, Commander, we could run a very brief brain scan on perhaps the three of us, given we've had the most exposure to this particular phenomenon. Maybe we could do it after opening the door one more time or while it's happening to kind of see what exactly is going on.
Yes, that sounds like a fine experiment. Chief, if you will, could you replicate the process while Lieutenant Talix examines the electron patterns and neural communications in your brain?
Oh, yes, of course. So just to clarify out above table, is it still just going to be the chief that sees the interior, or is Vakobe Ka looking in? Obviously, we have Talix looking at the tricorder at the time, but is Vakobe Ka also looking in is the question.
The commander's intention was to just have the chief be the only observer.
Okay.
Because it may sort of muddle the readings if multiple people are observing at the same time.
Okay. In that case, Talix, I need you to give me a reason and medicine. You have a focus in biotechnology here. The difficulty, however, is going to be a 5. Now, as a reminder, there's multiple ways that you can set yourself up to succeed here. One of those ways is by using a value and activating determination. Now, what this means is if you use a point of determination, you start with 2 free successes on your roll, or if you'd rather wait till after the roll, you can re-roll as many dice as you wish. The only trick is you have to apply a value to this current situation.
I do think that the value of application is more valuable than theory would apply here, given that this is not so much an experiment in a lab, but actually trying to determine a phenomenon that's happening in the present moment.
Okay, yeah, I like it. So go ahead and make a note that you've used that value, because the way advancement works in Star Trek Adventure 2nd Edition is tied to values. So just to make a note that you use that value at some point. But that'll start you off with 2 free successes. You still need to get 3 more, so you probably want to buy some dice here.
I'll go ahead and use our last momentum.
Okay.
And I will refrain from adding any more threat
Okay.
and see what this brings us.
Okay. Make sure you're checking the box of using focus and using determination value.
Okay. And adding number in dice pool to 3.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Okay. I can offer you a success with a complication. Actually, before I even do that, Captain, or Commander, if you're not actively watching the opening with the Chief, you could assist on this.
Yes, I was just considering that. I was thinking, I could use my advisor talent, where I could assist Talix with my command, kind of like, giving him, specific explicit instructions or talking him through it. Or I suppose I have a decent con score if that.
Well, I can give you
functions in any
medicine
way.
because that's what's being scanned right now.
Oh yes, yeah, my medicine is actually fairly good. Yeah, so yes, yeah. I think I'll assist with medicine. I think I'll, instead of using the advisor talent, I'll try to put 2 medical heads together to try to interpret the results.
Okay. In that case, you can assist with a insight medicine, and as a reminder on an assist, you always roll just 1 dice. And if it changes anything, you can use determination on an assist, and that'll just automatically make your roll 2 successes.
I think I actually will use my point of determination.
Okay.
I will invoke the commander's value. Good leaders get their hands dirty.
Okay. So, just like I said before, make sure you make a note of using that value somewhere. But since you're using determination here, no roll required. You will have an automatic 6 successes, so you get a momentum back. And as the 2 of you, Vokobe and Talix, as you look at the scans of the Chief's brain, it's very, very similar to a phenomenon that was brought on during one of the Enterprise D's missions. Above table, do you all remember that one episode where we had kind of a call, like Flowers for Algernon reference, where Barclay becomes Super Barclay and starts doing things that Barclay would never do? Do you remember that episode?
Ah, yes.
What about
I
you,
do
MDX?
not, but
Do you remember that one?
I don't, but that'll be on the watch list for this weekend.
Cool. I'll get you the specific episode title. But to kind of describe it for anybody who maybe not have seen the episode, basically there's a point in the episode where Barclay says, "Computer, I need you to create a neural interface to these specifications." And the computer's like, "Sorry, we don't have that pattern on file." And Barclay's all like, "All right, here's how you make one," kind of a thing. So
Is it the nth degree? Is that it?
I think so, yeah. I think that's it. But basically what I'm getting at is that the neural interface that Barclay creates during that episode is the exact kind of neural interface that this shuttle is now using to scan the Chief's brain and create the interior.
All right, Lieutenant, we have the how to some extent, but we don't understand the why. Why would a system on board this vessel actively scan the Chief's brain in order to construct a space to their specifications?
Well, Commander, there could be any number of reasons why a culture or a species might want to develop that type of technology. Perhaps it could be for making others feel comfortable when entering a new space. Perhaps it could be to try to envision or provide data as some part of AI when it comes to making new types of ships or locations. There could be any number of reasons for it. I just don't quite know which direction to go from here.
Do we get a sense of like what what the chief is observing inside as we're scanning their brain? Is it similar to the last perception they had, or has it changed in any significant ways?
There's a few more caffeination stations, and you note that
Of
their
course there
own
are.
jug, or not jug, the own cup of Ractagino they have is getting a little low. So maybe they were just a little bit focused on getting their next drink.
So surely the commander's kind of parsing this in his head. Surely there must be some kind of um, way of isolating whatever system is scanning our brains, which every time I say that makes me uncomfortable. Um, Surely there's a way to isolate that system to sort of track it and to try to like disable it in some way. If there's anybody technically handy, an engineer perhaps nearby to really, you know, plumb the depths of this alternate space and try to at the very least shut it off, because I don't know about you, but I don't like technology entering my brain without permission.
Fair, fair, and valid.
I know that's a radical stance to take, but
No, no, I hear you. I'm just looking at sheets here. I think Zenlith. Does Zenlith have a good engineering? Let me look. Oh yeah, you could call the liaison. She knows what she's doing.
what bay is this again?
Bay 2.
The commander will get on comms and say, Zenlith to bay 2, Zenlith to bay 2, priority.
Be right there, sir. And you wait maybe about 4 or 5 minutes. She walks into the bay, quirks an eyebrow at you, and then at the shuttle, then at the interior of the shuttle, and goes, Commander, are you aware that the shuttle is smaller on the outside?
That's a novel observation. It's come to our understanding, yes.
Well, what
That's
would you
not the
like me
only
to do about
problem.
it?
I'd like you to determine where inside this space is a system that is actively scanning our brains and reconfiguring said space to reflect our desires.
Well, I can see what I can find, of course. And Zenless Sheet should be available to you all. In fact, let me double check that real quick. You all should be able to see Zenless Sheet. Let me know if you can't.
Yep,
But whoever wants to roll from her, I'll put the species ability in chat. And this is the Gremlin species ability. So basically, you get a free D20 in your pool because she's had caffeine within the last 2 scenes. So she's already starting at 3d20 for free. And the difficulty on this is a 4, and she is rolling a Reason Engineering. So whichever one of you wants to roll for her, go for it. And the one thing I
Okay.
would say is that she does have a focus in unorthodox mathematics here.
Well, surely that would apply.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Talix, I bequeath the honor of NPC rolling to you.
I'm happy to do that. I am just not sure where to pull up that character sheet.
Should be
It
under
should be under
supporting
the
characters.
same tab, the same right-hand menu, the little actor icon. Should be a folder called Supporting Characters, and then Zenless should be in the Supporting Characters folder.
Ah, I see.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'm sorry, you said it is, what's the role going to be?
A reason engineering difficulty of 4, and she starts with 3d20 and a focus.
Focus 3.
Okay. She can succeed with a complication here. Question is, do you want that to happen or do you just want her to fail? Because that's also an option.
Let's succeed with a complication.
Okay. So Zenlith, she takes the goggles on top of her head and puts them over her eyes. And what you see is that rather than carry a tricorder, Zenlith's tricorder is literally built into her glasses or her goggles. So she's using kind of augmented reality to do all this. But she scans using her goggles, walks up to the top of the ramp, reaches up, and taps on a bit of metal protrusion right above the door. And sure enough, a little beam of white light lances out, hits Zenlith in the head. She staggers back for a moment, reeling, but then she catches herself and goes, "Okay, wow, that, okay, all right, yep, found it, sir. Ow, okay, oof, oh boy, yep, found it."
Are you alright? Do you need sick bay?
I need caffeine is what I need. And, the chief runs over with a fresh thing of Ractigino. Here you are, ma'am. Oh, thank you. She takes the caffeine, drinks it. Yeah, sorry to describe what happened. It was the sudden sensation of caffeine withdrawal, but on a level I've never experienced before. Wow, I would not recommend that. Do not tap that without being prepared.
What can you tell us about the system, other than that it induces caffeine withdrawal?
Well, I think it's unique to each species. It's just meant to be a mild displeasurement, if that's even a word I can use. It's meant to ward you off from messing with the system. But as far as I'm able to tell, it mostly just reads surface thoughts. It doesn't read command codes or anything like that, but it's pretty well built into the Vulcan space frame. It's not just like it's bolted on. It's like somebody literally got into the shuttle itself and, well, for lack of a better term, reconfigured the apertures so that this system could sit inside of it.
Can you disable it?
Well, depends on how you want it disabled. If you want me to shut it off for good, I could shoot it with a phaser. If you want me to temporarily knock it offline, well, one of you should do it because I'm kind of seeing double at the moment. I can tell you what you need to push and what wire to pull, though.
Let's aim for the latter. I don't want to destroy a potentially groundbreaking piece of technology.
Well, I can definitely tell you that I can get a lot of gremlins on this very quickly, and they're going to be overjoyed to take a look at this thing.
Well, then make it happen.
All right. So above table, once again, Zenlith is kind of out because she got hit by the beam because of the complication. Which one of you is going to be pulling the wire?
It's a good question. So, let me read between the lines here. Which one of us wants to die? Anybody have a death wish? Anybody? The commander will do it. I'll do it.
Okay. I need you to give me a fitness and medicine here. Difficulty of 2.
Fitness and medicine.
Mm-hmm.
The difficulty of 2.
Unfortunately, no focus, though.
What, damage control doesn't count?
Unfortunately not. If you fail this roll, then afterwards, yes.
Okay, let's see. I'd like to use a point of momentum to gain another die.
Okay.
And here we go.
And you get 4 successes, getting back to momentum. So yeah, Commander, you follow Zenless instructions. You reach in, you pop open a panel, you pull a few wires, and you are not hit by the same beam of white light that hit Zenlith. And the next thing you know, as you disable the system, everybody looking through the aperture, including yourself, Commander, sees that the space sort of almost like a holodeck shimmers away, leaving a very nondescript gray space. There's no consoles, there's no like tables, there's just an expanse of gray. Still bigger on the inside, but just an expanse of gray now.
Somehow this is less helpful than I anticipated. Lieutenant, thoughts?
Well, Commander, it seems that we found the connection to our minds, and yet this space still seems affected. I'm wondering if there's another system, if there's another phenomenon that we've not yet come across. But otherwise, it's just so strange.
We need information. Or we could blow it up.
That is always an option.
I mean, we could just wipe our hands of the whole thing.
Can Talix try to do a computer search of records on this type of phenomenon to see if there's anything else that we could glean, or see if there's been a similar, I guess, solution to this problem before?
I'm going to say yes, but since we are coming up on session time, what I'm going to say that as you start making that computer search, Commander, you get a chirp from Ops, and they say, Ops to Commander Vakobe Ka, we have an alien vessel approaching at high warp. What would you like to do about it, sir?
Species of origin? Planet
Unknown,
of
sir.
origin?
We've tried hailing them. Does not match any vessel we know of.
Ray shields for the station go to yellow alert, and make sure that our security personnel is ready for a possible engagement.
And that's where we do the Star Trek, fade out and to be continued. And that'll be our first episode. Cool.
Awesome.
So yeah, I hope you all enjoyed that. It was a little bit challenging because again I was expecting 3 players today, but we can make it work with 2. My main concern was that I wanted to show you all the unique NPCs of the station that I figure you'll be interacting with the most. But yeah, what'd you all think? Because this is a Starbase centric campaign, so I have to make sure that the Starbase has life to it, if that makes any sense.
Oh, of course. Otherwise, it's just an empty shed, space shed.
Yeah.
I think maybe we're gonna have to find a planet that is made of espresso or something and shunt all of its natural resources into the station just to keep the gremlins in line.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and you've already probably picked up on the line. Eventually there will be a mission where you run out of caffeine because it's going to have to happen.
Well, that'll be the end of Osiris Station as we know
it. Probably.
That'll be the season finale.
Yeah,
sweep.
The season finale. There you go. Love it. All right, well, Twitch, stick around because we're going to raid somebody, but YouTube, we'll see you later. Bye-bye, YouTube.